Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. My buddy Rhett. We just got done doing a Three.js video, and now we are doing our Sunday flashcard builder video. I think this is going to be my best application that I ever built. Um, it's probably going to be an application that I use every single day, and I think it's really going to be a good improvement to my life. But I was just working on my Three.js video, which is very mind consuming, it's just beautiful, just delicious little problems that just appear in these that my brain gets to solve, and then when we solve it, you get the little endorphins. But one challenge that I think that most developers have that took me a long time to master was moving from one project to another, um, and coming up to speed in the new project. And a big part of that is actually um, when you the how you left the state of the project the last time you left. So I know that because I named this folder that the videos go in, Sun Flashcard Builder for Sunday. I know that I'm working on Flashcard Builder because today is Sunday. So now I just got to find it in my recent videos. Oh my God, there it is, Tech Flashcard. And then I can't remember. I think we killed this, I hope. Every once in a while, I don't know, I think it's a version of Visual Studio Code when you leave, if you didn't actively kill the session, the port, you can't get the port back, which is just a pain in the butt because you just say it's not a nightmare, but it's a real pain in the butt. All right, so we got our flashcard builder. It looks like we are on step 5. Make the gather control for prompt small and locked on the lower left. I mean, what that means. CD, and then this is going to be F. Yeah, flashcard builder. npm start. So it looks like last week we got the upgrade to Angular 22 done. Probably started working on this, and then I decided I liked it. Make the gather control for prompt small and locked onto the lower left. Okay, and so we do have a gather control here. What does it have in it right now? Okay, it just says gatherer works, so I don't even know if I'm using it. So both, if I remember, we have two gatherers. We have a prompt gatherer and a response gatherer. So let's go back to our back. There we go. It started for prompt, small and locked onto the bottom on the lower left. All right, so these are our gatherers, and here's our gatherer control. And yeah, it's right now, it's like right in the middle. It would be nice if it was just locked to the bottom of a div, of this div. And I don't really, it's kind of weird with like when I first started, CSS did not exist. I think CSS probably became, you know, the beginnings of it was probably like 1998, something like that. Um, and so, and it was so simple. It was like the easiest of the easiest concepts. And now I would say that everywhere I work, it's the one that people struggle the most with is CSS. So, anyways, so I guess this is a good example where the uh, let's go to our gather prompt. We want to work on prompt. Go over here and then app gather controls. Okay, so well, one thing I do know is that this is going to have its own div if I'm going to put it to the bottom of it. I don't know. Let's do this. I thought my problem was, okay, so you get voice. Okay, let me see. I think I need to do this. Div. So we're creating like a wrapper div, like a div that goes around the outside, and we need it to take up 100% of the available height and the available width. And then we need to push this one down to the bottom. So I'm just going to do an inline style, and you really don't ever want to commit code with inline styles. 1px solid and then red, or is it red solid? So weird. I think it's like this. 1px solid black. I think that's how you do the border. I don't know if will the context thing help me? No. Um, so let's go back over here. Okay, so that worked. So I want this to take up 100% of the parents. So we got to figure out why it's not. It might just, and it might, maybe we don't. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. I'm assuming that we're dealing with padding that's up here. App controls, app prompt. Okay, so you could see that when we mouse over, it looks like our app prompt is being, okay, so I'm going to go to computed. Oh, so this is the guy. This guy has got 16 pixels of padding on him for some reason. So let's go boom, and then let's look at the parent. Let's look at the, so it has a command, okay, so, oh, so it gets a class. A box shadow, I think, is this causing the problem? Yeah, I think this is our padding. Okay, I want to just play with it in here. Okay, app prompt over here. I think this is where the padding is coming in. Yes, 6 and 6. Okay, so that is not where the padding is coming in. Because this is 6 and 16, which I probably don't even want that. It's this guy right here, app prompt, that's got a 16 padding. And it is this, yeah, flashcard container. So if I get rid of this, doesn't look as good, but it definitely is the culprit. So let's just, probably don't want it all to go away. Yeah, probably right there. So that's 3, 4. Okay, we'll go with 4. So I think I can just change this to 4px. And a lot of these I just cannot freaking, like, I don't know why I know how to do that. And it is just, it drives people nuts. All right, so we want this gather control to be pushed to the bottom of this. So prompt, we want these guys to go to the bottom. Okay, so I have this Angular code. I'm thinking my prompt right now for ChatGPT. So I have this Angular code. I think I want to post it as is, and I would like to push app gather control to the bottom, which I think what we can do is if we do this, you know what? I just want to try it. Let's just try it. So if I do this, I say position relative. come in here and I'm going to say style, position, absolute, and then is it location? No, I know, I can't remember how you tell it to go to the bottom. I think this is going to put it at the top. And you notice what it, well, it didn't. It actually removed it. I thought, say display block. And then is there like a display bottom? Is that what it is? Display. It doesn't look like this is it. I can't remember. There's like a, maybe that's supposed to be position static. Okay, that did not work. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one completely. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm pretty sure I need, oh, is that a, oh, that's a, oh no, that's right. Position relative display block. Okay, so now I'm going to take this right here and copy this as is. I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, how do I push the app gather controls to the bottom? Okay, so I have this Angular code. And I want the app gather controls to be pinned to the bottom of the outer div of the div. I don't think outer is helpful. So I didn't tell it to just give it to me in 4 sentences because I want to kind of understand it. Margin top auto. So I guess it's kind of funny. This margin auto kind of comes and goes all the time. Okay, so it's saying to set the height to 300. Is that a good idea? Maybe, maybe not. Feel like maybe I should set the min height to 300. Actually, 100% I should set the min height to 300, not the actual height to 300. Can't even remember what I copied. Okay. Now this should not ever, like the inline style shouldn't end up being a thing. All right, so let's see if we just do this one. So we set the min height to 300, display flex, flex direction, column. That is good. I like that. Now we want to do the second part, which should push it to the bottom. Mm, Cool. Yeah, I like that. That's really nice. And then we definitely want it's kind of interesting because I don't really want to duplicate the styles in both places, but I'm going to. Um, I guess it's not necessary. I guess we could. So, okay, we have two choices. We could make it to where, okay, so this is a class and it's of type um, it's of type gatherer. And what we'd like to do is, I don't know if I can do this. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add this class here. And I'm trying something that I probably wouldn't, like at my current job, I would not do it. But I just want to try it out. Styles. Dot gather. Now, I've worked at places where this would not work because like they changed the because they actually changed the name um, of the classes so that they're unique, right? So you don't have bleed through. Um, and then I've worked at places where this will work. Like my current job, this would work perfectly fine. And I don't quite understand when. Okay, so yeah, so that works. And so as you can see in a gatherer, for this one, it pushes to the bottom. Okay, so what happens if now I could go over to that was my prompt, and then the response. And let's go ahead and make this. Ugh. I think we pretty much want this. Well, I don't know. It looks like I kind of went a different direction. All right, so first thing I'm just going to do is this. Go to our response and go like this. And then this. And again, I like to go see how things work. All right, I love it. And now, I know we want a div here. I know I have some extra logic and stuff in that other one, but I know I want a div here. Let's try it too. So turn this on, allow. Hello world. Yeah, that's nice. Looking good. So you notice like every time I talk, a new phrase shows up, right? So I want to be able to choose whether it just keeps appending or whether it um, doesn't append, and whether it overwrites. So there'll be like an append or overwrite, and then I want to be able to click on here and tweak it however I want. I think this is going to be an awesome application. I'm not sure, but I do think so. Let's go ahead and put some there. Hit save. Hit save. I said hit save, but it thinks I said it's save. And so then the other thing to do is to go back into here, remove this. They should be exactly the same, and this is called app gatherer control. App gatherer controls. Okay, so we're back up to there, and now we want to go to our styles. And I'm telling you, if you work in an enterprise and you're making alterations in styles, you really want to create some sort of including thing because this file is a Git disaster. Like I've worked in so many places where like this styles file is like 20, 30, 40, 50,000 lines of code and every single effort changes that and like becomes almost impossible to maintain. So this was app dash gathers prompt, gather controls. All right, so that's our selector. That selects. It's going to look for anything that says that's inside of a gatherer and a gather control, and it's going to do that. Margin top auto. I feel like there's probably like a 90% chance that I'm going to have to completely redo this in some other way. So now both of them are down there. It's working perfectly. It's still listening there. And we can turn it off like that. All right. So that looks good. I think I want to get rid of the line now, the border. And I do think the minimum height 300 is a nice improvement. Um, Now, the fact that it says minimum, so if it said height of 300, then what happens is like if this text starts to get too big, it will start it'll probably I think it'll make a bar here and you can start scrolling. Maybe I want that. I don't know, but right now what'll happen is I think it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which I think is a good thing actually, because that's going to be annoying. And Flashcard really shouldn't even be ever bigger than 300. I don't think. I think you should be doing something else if your flashcard is a lot larger than this, because that's probably like 200 words that would fit in there. Anyway, so here we are. Now we did it. We finished one of our tasks in the README. I don't think we picked up another task. Because a lot of times when we're doing these, we end up finding other tasks that we have to do, like the gather control. Okay, so next week we'll make a clear button for the prompt. We'll create an overwrite versus append toggle for the prompt. Okay, so the clear button would be like, it's down here, you hit the little button, and then this gets cleared. Now, that's going to be interesting because I have two gatherers, so I'll probably want to like emit from this. Um, I generally feel that signals is more scalable. So maybe that's what I'll do actually. You know what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create it's something I've been wanting to do and it's like kind of weird, but I think that it's like kind of the right thing to do is create a service that lives in gatherers and isn't a singleton service and will automatically and so prompt will have its own version and response will have its own version of the service. And so because I don't think prompt and response ever need to talk to each other. So prompt should have its own service, and then gather controls should set a signal, and it would be in that service, and response will have a service. So I want to do that just so I can learn how to do it more than anything. So I wonder if the numbers do. I think the numbers are helpful. Step 6. Create a service. Uh, each gatherer has its own version and can so can use a signal that is isolated to the to each gatherer. All right, so then this is 7, and then this is 8, and this is 9. This is 10, 11, 12, and 13. All right, so that's what we're doing next. We're going to create a service, and that service is going to live here in gatherers, I think. And then prompt will have its own version of that service. So when in the prompt, and there's no way I'm going to remember what I'm saying right now, so this is for now. This is so that we can understand what's going on right now. In here, we'll have a providers. I think that's how this works. And then I think you give it an array, and then you give it the the service that you want to use, and then this service, when the injector looks, I do not know this. I think this is what I think happens. When this guy looks for the injector looks for a prompt, it's going to find the one that's for this. It's not going to find. So I think what happens is you end up creating a singleton and then one for each. And I don't think we need the singleton at the top. We just need the ones for each. So I actually want to ask about that. So, okay, so I have 2 components, and each uses a service. How can I isolate that service to each component so that they can have their own signal? I don't know if that even makes any sense. It's the first time I ever put those words together, right? First time I ever. So, like that's kind of one of the points of this whole thing, or one of the major benefits to me of this whole thing is that I've gotten to where I get a chance to sort of make these words up in my head and then all that. So provide the service in the component level instead of the application root level, which that part are, yeah. So these would both have their own voice recognition service. And then if the service is, you can still use it. Okay, so I don't need a root version. Root level service. I don't even know. Maybe you have to have a root service. I've never even asked that question. Now, so it's saying, hey, just have injectable and don't provide it in the root, which I think is a good thing. Okay, so what if? Okay, so how does it work with the new service decorator? It works the same way conceptually as inject, except it's specifically for services. Yeah, I get that. Um, okay, but um, the service when the CLI creates. So this is saying that you would add the provided in root to the service, but I got the impression that isn't that you don't have to do this, that this is like the default, but I don't know if that's the case. So now I'm trying to figure that out. And so at some point in the future, I'm not going to remember this. I'm not going to remember that I went through this whole thing and asked all these questions, but I am going to remember that services either are automatically provided in root or not, and I won't remember how I know that because I kind of just try to. I think my brain just remembers stuff, has figured out over all these decades certain pieces of information to remember and certain pieces of information to not remember. Um, creates a service with the new decorator that it does not add the provided in root in provided in configuration by default. Yes, that is an intentional change. Assumes every service should be instead of. Okay, yeah. One instance per entry. Yeah, this is very confusing. Ad service should be application wide. Okay. Okay, so yeah. Uh, so is there configuration that can be. Oh, wait a second. Oh, okay. So no, it gets, yeah, it can be um, passed in to specifically make it not provided in root. Does not exist. Okay, so had a service. So if you use service, you always get one in the root. Okay, so they're saying that by default it is not added in the root. I don't think it works. I think it's working that way. Just converted some of my services to the new format, to use the new service. That's the biggest problem with ChatGPT is it lies. So just because it said, no, it's quite the opposite, blah, 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 and it said it with all that confidence, like, no, it's actually the opposite. If you write, like that's, and I'm doing the voice, right? So that's how I read it. So that says more about me than it does about ChatGPT. But the, it will say stuff like that and then and be completely wrong. And that is something you've just got to get used to. Like you've just got to understand that you got to take everything it says with a grain of salt and you have to verify everything it says. Um, and it says a lot, so that's why sometimes it's good just make it pipe down and not give you too many responses. I'm just going to summon the use to the new service to use the new service decorator, and they all behave as singles, all behave as singletons. That's so funny. I was applying the old mental model too directly. With the new director is generated service those singles by default. It effectively registers. Yeah, see, this is it. See, it lied. It's just straight up lied. It just made some shit up and just lied. And it does that. It does that all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. It just we need to you just need to update your mental model that like, yeah, this thing either knows or it makes something up. It never says it doesn't know. So you always have to look at it that like it's gonna read basically it's gonna give you the what it thinks is the best answer. Whether it's right or wrong is not part of that decision making. So it effectively is with the application injector, which means all injections resolve to the same instance. So yeah, so but then they're saying you can do also create like a local one, which would just be your local. Was incorrect. Thanks for catching it. So I'm actually well, I just don't. I'm so curious if now it's fixed for other people. Like, so now if you go and ask if it would be fixed, so did it use my response to fix its database, or is this just me and it's going to tell you the wrong thing too? If you're out there, I would love to see anyone ask. Let's see, what was the question? Like something along these lines. So if you use, whenever you use the new, in Angular 22, they came out with a new service, decorator. And if will those automatically be applied to the root, or do they get applied not to the root, like individually? So it actually said no, it's actually the opposite. It completely lied. At least down here, it finally, like, I don't think they used to do this. So at least they admitted that they lied. Um, it changed it. It didn't say, "Hey, yeah, I lied to you." It said I was too confident. Um, but I mean, okay, that's a good answer. Like if you get caught in the lie, say, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I was just too confident." But anyways, all right. So with the new service decorator, is it possible to notate to configure it to not be a root service? I don't even care. I just want to know. I couldn't care less. I don't have an opinion on whether like if you use that service and that service is always going there's always going to be an extra one on the route, then don't make these things huge if you're going to do it. Don't carry some gigantic freaking um, object or something in there because it's going to make one of those for every one of your individual services, um, or maybe vice versa. I don't know, but anyways, question mark. It needs a correction. The new service decorator, the service en route is provided by Rachel, which matches your observed. To make it not a server, you configure it. Okay, so provided in null. It actually said that that didn't exist, provided in null. So it looks like I could do a provided in null next week when I do this. It'll be interesting to see if I remember any of this next week. Because this is, you got to admit, this is just like a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to work on my um, 3JS one like 6 times between now and then. I'll be working on all kinds of other stuff for the whole week, and then I'll finally come back to this. But it'll be interesting to see if I remember any of this next week. Probably, I think it's worth remembering. So maybe I'll do this. I know I'm kind of waffling back and forth, but let's get get that back to a stable state. Put this here, and then okay, do it this way to prevent auto prevent a service at the root. Never done anything like this before. I doubt many people have. I definitely want to try it out. Um, I like it actually. I think this is the right way to do this. I think 99 times out of 100 you want your services to be available at the root and shared across the entire application. I really do think that's the number. But every once in a while you want a service to just be isolated to a specific component and its children so that they can all intercommunicate, and then you can have multiple of them and they can just intercommunicate with it without bleeding into each other. And that is a rare but like necessary thing. So anyways, that's for next week. I think this is awesome. I think we could definitely build out the whole thing and not even worry about stuff like this and be done and then be like have it, but I don't like opportunities like this do not present very often. Whenever you run across like something that needs some other, they could be make use of some modern brand new thing, it is probably in your best interest just to hit the brakes, go in there and do that if you have time. Like obviously, if you're at work and there's a production issue and all that, you probably should focus on getting things right for production and not trying to learn these things. But if you do have time, if you're not under massive duress and you're trying to build something and they want you to take your time and get it right, um, this is a great this is a great approach. Just try things like this, see what happens. But you really do want to always try these brand new things on your own personal projects at home first. That's just part of being a professional. Like if you were a professional basketball player, run you probably do sprints, you probably do wind sprints, you probably do jumping, plyometrics, all kinds of stuff like that, not at practice because you want to be good at practice. I know when my kids were young and they were doing sports, I would always say, do you want to have fun at practice with your friends or do you want to be trying to get in shape at practice with your friends? Because it's no fun when you're tired and you're sucking wind and you're at practice. But if you've been running on your own and then you got your cardio right and you're running and you don't get all tired and all that, then you can just have a fantastic time with your friends. So same way here, if you have um, your own personal projects, and I know I'm coming off preachy, and I know that being like, if there's one thing I cannot stand in social media right now is preachy stuff. So I'm kind of doing something that would annoy the heck out of me, but I do feel like this is worth a bit of preaching. Like that is probably the biggest hole most developers have and it's a couple reasons. One, it's really nice to work on your own projects because you can make your own timelines, you can be your own boss, you can make your own decisions for yourself. And then you can practice in a low stakes environment the problems with if you make a bad decision, the benefits if you make a good decision, but it's all low stakes. It's not the end of the world if you screwed it up. That is really nice. That takes a lot of pressure off. You can enjoy it when you just do it yourself. You can just be like, oh, okay, this is fun. Oh, wow, that was neat. Oh, look, emoticons. You can do things that are going to bring joy to your life. And if you're doing coding and you're bringing joy to your life, you're associating happiness with coding. But most developers I know, especially the highly paid ones, don't ever write code on their own for fun. And they're just miserable. They're making 250K a year, just miserable for 8 hours a day. It's just like um, I while I'm coding at work, it's not miserable because I don't have that association. So I apologize for being preachy, but I felt like it had to be said. But next week we'll kind of continue to explore down this concept of having a service that is only that is isolated to there. Also, I was really glad. I'm really happy about this video specifically because I caught ChatGPT in a lie, and that has been that's a skill. Catching AI in a lie is probably going to be one of the best skills, most valuable skills in the future. And um, I caught it in a lie, and then I was able to figure it out myself and all that. And that's like another thing is like if I didn't have a strong background in this stuff, I would never have been able to catch that lie. And not only that, but it was a well stated lie, so I would have probably repeated that lie and taken ownership of that lie. Maybe even posted in a blog somewhere that lie, and then that lie becomes further processed through the whole system, and now that lie is posted in some web page that I wrote somewhere, and it just keeps it becomes the truth because if ChatGPT says that's how it is, like that's what we're trying to head to is where these AIs are the source of the truth and they lie. They lie all the time. So, anyways, so that's like a thing. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just we're not ready for it. Like we all understand certain things are guesstimates and certain things like we don't expect everything to be exact, but we just need to be prepared for it and sort of recognize it. It would be fascinating to understand. I don't think anyone can, but it'd be fascinating to understand why it just decided to lie like that. Um, but anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.